Hello and welcome to this demo on customizing the timeline in Dynamics 365. To edit the relevant form, we'll first of all go to make.powerapps.com, make sure that you're logged into the relevant environment, and we'd recommend doing this in the sandbox environment first, then expand this area here for the Dataverse, select Tables, and then select the table where you'd like to edit your timeline. We can then open up the forms and then we can select the form that we want to edit. I'm going to select the Sales Insights form. We can then double click the timeline that we want to edit. One of the first things that I'm going to do in here is just going to make sure that we've removed some of the activity types that we don't want to be displayed on the timeline. Now if we scroll down here on the right hand side, you can see all of the activity types that could be listed. I'm going to remove the order close activities, so I'm just going to select order close, untick enable, then select done, and now we've made that change. We can now save and publish the change. And if we go back to the original record and then refresh the screen, we can now see those order close activities have disappeared. We're now going to show you how you can display more activities on the timeline. You can see on this particular contact that there's quite a large number of activities, and if we scroll down you'll then see that we have to click load more for further records to be displayed. We're going to show you how to display a greater number of activities and also to show you how these will display as we scroll down the page. You'll see that you have this section here on the right hand side for the advanced settings. Just make sure that's open, and then you'll see here you can display the maximum number of records shown per page, and that varies from 1 to 50. I'm just going to take this up to the maximum of 50, and you can also set the sensitivity for scrolling, so you can get it to automatically expand your further records when you're halfway down the list if you select short, or 70% of the way down your list for medium, or even 90% of the way down the list for long. I'm going to set mine to short, so as we don't have to scroll very far down at all before it shows our remaining activities. Once they're in place, we can then save and publish those changes, and then back on the main form, if we just give it a quick refresh, you'll now see that if we scroll down in the list of activities on the timeline, that there's a large number of activities displayed, and it's also expanding them as we scroll. A further change that you can make to your timeline is that you can restrict the ability to carry out certain actions. So for example, on this appointment here, you'll notice that I have permissions to delete it. I could also assign this to somebody. If you wanted to change the setup of the timeline so as people cannot assign or cannot delete records from the timeline, that is definitely possible. All that you need to do is again select the timeline area here, select the record that you want to restrict, and in this case here I'm going to remove permission to assign and permission to delete. Then going to save the changes and then save and publish the form. And now if I go back to this contact here, those permissions to delete an appointment and to assign an appointment have disappeared. A further piece of customization that's available to you is the ability to change the forms that are used on the timeline. Now the default is to use the quick create forms. Now let's say on the phone call you want that to be using a different form. You can select the phone call here, and then where it says create phone call using and default, I'm just going to change this to be main form dialog, and I'm going to do the same thing for the form that is used when we open the phone call. Then select done, save and publish, and now if we return to Dynamics and then go to create a phone call, you'll now see that it's opened up this full form here. So I'm going to add into here technical spec, just going to mark this complete, and you can see that used the full form. And likewise now if I go to open the record, you'll see that's opened up the main form again. Whenever you add an activity to the timeline of a record, those activities will show on the parent records. So for example, phone calls shown on contacts will also show on account records. Until recently, this wasn't possible with notes, but a recent change means that that is now possible. To make that change, all that you need to do is log into make.powerapps.com and then select the relevant record and form. Now you'll notice in this case here, I want these records to show on the account, so it's on the account that we need to make this change. It isn't on the child records of contact, for example, that we need to adjust the forms. Double click the timeline so as it becomes editable, then expand this section here marked as notes, and then you'll see the notes roll-up type here that defaults to none. If we change this now to be related, and then save and publish, and now you'll see if I go to a contact and I go to add a note like so, see here I've got a small note here with an attachment, just going to click add note, and now if I go to the accounts record, you can now see on the timeline of the account that that note is now available. And these are some of the features from within the editable timeline. We hope you found this presentation useful.